The goal for this podcast is to better our understanding through conversation. Communication is one of the easiest, yet hardest things to do. Whether that's communication of feelings, thoughts, or opinions. But through communication, new perspectives begin to take place. Throughout the various topics and opinions discussed on this podcast, we hope that we can add value, understanding, and a few laughs to your day. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the show.
Graduation is coming around. I'm doing financial advising with Northwestern Mutual. However, I knew that wasn't where my heart was at. So I couldn't get a corporate job. So I was like, okay, it's time to focus on my heart, which is doing business worldwide, because that's something I wanted to do since I was a kid. So I reached out to Abdul. I called Abdul and I was like, hey man, come to the house. I have an idea that I wanted to share with you. Because I thought about doing it by myself, but I was like, it's so complex and intricate to the point where it's very difficult and mainly impossible if you do it by yourself.
Right.
So I called Abdul and I was like, I have this idea. I pitched it to him. He was like, man, that is nice. That is dope. I like that. I was like, okay, I want you to be a part. So he said, give me some time to think about it. So he thought about it. And I think a week or a couple of days later, he even spoke with his father, who's in Senegal. And he was like, I want to be a part. So,
oh man, that's amazing, dude.
Abdul came on board. And then a week later, I was driving to Whole Foods. And I was like, we need somebody else. And one person name kept coming to my mind. It was Gigi. I was like, let me call Gigi. I called Gigi. I pitched the idea to her. We already had a master's degree together. And she was like, that is amazing. That is what I always wanted to do. I just was looking for some other people to do it with as well.
That's crazy.
So we met and that's how we started Globally Connected Group.
All three of you guys went to school together, correct?
No, so I'll explain and they can explain also. So I met Abdul first.
Right.
I met Abdul in 2019. Georgia State had a Leadership Academy program. It was a cabin trip to Dahlonega, Georgia. And he was by himself a lot. And something just say something to him. So I said something to him. And he mentioned he was Muslim. And he was from Senegal, which is in West Africa. So me having the experience of going to South Africa, I was already intrigued with meeting people from Africa, but he just seemed like a genuine guy.
Right.
And we started forming conversations about Islam because I thought about converting at the time. And we just he was fasting also. And then it just piqued my interest and I was very curious. So I wanted to get to know him. And also he was in the Leadership Academy. So that's already showing signs of leadership and wanting to become a leader and hone your skill set. So that's how we formed the bondship. And I remember that entire night, the first night, I don't know if you remember, but we talked outside for 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, so that's how I met him in 2019. And then Gigi, we met August 2020 via the MIB program.
That's crazy, man. Now, you mentioned the business. Can you get a name of the business one more time?
Yes, Globally Connected Group.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what is the mission of your business? What's your actual goal that you're looking to accomplish with the business that you guys started?
Yeah, so I think that's where we all kind of really aligned on our vision. And that was really the beautiful thing about this business coming together. But we all had a vision of sort of helping bridge that digital to physical gap. And the idea primarily started with how we saw things in Africa. There are so many people that are small business owners or big business owners, and they have really, really incredible skill sets and products and things like that. But sometimes they have a hard time reaching the international market or getting that digital exposure.
Right.
And that was kind of where our idea started and our mission started for Globally Connected Group. We wanted to find a way to sort of bridge everyone together, bridge business together from physical to virtual. And we wanted to help as many people as we can too. And, our long-term goals also are a lot dealing with giving back to the community and helping with the development of Africa and around the world too, but also empowering business owners to grow their business and using our skill sets to help them strategize their business plan and expand internationally. So we work with a variety of businesses. And yeah, that's really where our mission came from and started.
I think that's amazing, man. Especially being able to branch out outside of the continent and be able to bring more resources, more influence, more money, and bring more notoriety to the products that they have. You know what I mean? I think that's great.
Absolutely, because it's like, the resources are there, the skill sets are there. It's a matter of finding a way to click everything together and that connection, and it's so crucial. So
he already mentioned, and I said it earlier, I'm from Senegal. So I was born there and I was raised in Senegal. So I came here in the United States. The first time was in 2015. So I have had the chance to see both parts of the world. So I know what the United States can offer. A lot of skills, a lot of resources. And then the gap we have, for example, in Senegal. So I witnessed it. Obviously, I always wanted to do stuff for my country. And when I came here, the United States kind of welcomed me. So I kind of made myself here, I will say, right? So I love the United States and I love Senegal. So how do we find a way to bridge that gap, find resources that the United States can offer, and then bring it to Senegal? So that's what happened that's why we got together. And we got a chance to put that to work last year. And so far it's doing well. We're still learning and going, but just a little bit more about what Gigi said.
Nah, man, I think that's great. Now that you alluded to it, man, but my next question would be like, what have you done to prepare you for the roles in your business? And also what skill sets do you bring that like aid you in the fields that you guys are in?
I would say the things that we do and like the things that we do as a group include a lot of like, we are constantly like doing research and sharing things with each other and teaching each other things, like our skills and the skills that we learn from other people and sort of bridging that together. And then on an individual basis, so I come from a background in computer information systems, primarily in innovating business processes. So I've had a lot of work with taking a business process and seeing how we can digitize it and optimize it too, and like make it more seamless. So even, for example, if someone has like a physical infrastructure and they're looking to have a website where someone can like do a process on there, figuring out those steps. And then I've worked in product management at a data analytics company. So I did that for about 4 years and then transferred into the international sales team. So with that, I was able to travel all around the world doing international sales, interacting with people, learning different cultures. I think that's really the grounding point for me, is like learning about other people's cultures in the world. Right. That's been like a huge influence and something I'm grateful for to grow my skills. So if you guys want to share your personal skills as well and sort of our team skills as a whole.
Absolutely. Let me go next. My background is software engineering. So it's in building apps. So I finished my my college in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. So I didn't get a chance to graduate. But after that, I started working as a software engineer at Ford as a junior. We were building like some of the mobile apps there. And then after a year and a half, I transitioned to Kaiser Permanente. Right now, we build the frameworks, the authentication frameworks, analytics engines, and things like that. And after that, I started another company called Jatal. We built up like an app connecting the African diaspora with resources in agriculture back home. So that's where I add value majority in the business. So I handle some of the, the tech consulting and things like that. So overall, that's me.
My background, some myriad of things. But I would say mostly it's just being a visionary behind everything. Right. Actually having things come to fruition, But outside of that, just being hands-on, marketing, finances, building things from start to finish. That's it. Just being a visionary and a creator, and having things actually be executed to life.
Yeah, man. I think it's like almost like a great machine, man, that just meshes together based on what you guys said. It's like you guys are hitting all wickets. I want to ask, pertaining to what you just gave on your background, what are your perceptions of the world as it pertains to like international business, tech, and globalization? And if I can add, where do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, we already see globalization today. Just earlier, we were talking with Gigi how we were looking into some data and we saw the United States is importing a lot, right? And then we were asking, how come the United States is importing a lot? It's because, it's cheaper to make it out there and then just get it in here.
Right, right.
So we have gotten into the world where now with the social media, with internet and all this type of stuff, it's really easy to have access and to know what's going on in across the continent, across the world, and easy to replicate it. For example, someone in China can teach how to do stuff in China, right? And then you can replicate it here. All you have to do, maybe go to the grocery store or go on Amazon and then order the parts and then put it together, right?
Right.
So we have gotten into that now. So where I see it is everybody, if you have a skill somewhere, just focus on your skills, and what you don't have, just try to delegate it somewhere else. And I believe it's just gonna get much more connected, and especially with where we're going, the influence of the these new technologies like AI, with the Web3, which Gigi is kind of getting into it. Yeah, just find a way to leverage those resources,
Right.
share with the world what we can do, and then, help them.
Nah, definitely, man. Something that came to mind, like, how do you guys stay ahead of that? Like, what do you guys use as far as like news sources, or what do you get your information from as far as staying on top of like all the changes that's going on?
There's like quite a variety. Personally, I'm a big keyword person, so I've been really into like blockchain and Web 3.0 and trying to stay on top of that. So sometimes I'll even just go on Google and use the right keywords that I want, and there's that like news tab
Right.
on Google, and like I'll really just look through a bunch of different sources. I think the more information the better, and I would say something that I find really important is to get a variety of news sources, because just getting US based news can be sometimes maybe too boxed in,
Right.
but looking like outside into other sources, like for example, for my news, I look at this site called Al Jazeera as well. It talks like more on a global perspective and many different perspectives. So I try to incorporate like different global perspectives, and I'll look within the tech aspect, like TechCrunch or news sources like that. I really love to stay up to date on things there. But also, I think the really important thing with globalization is also having an understanding of the political, economic, social, cultural, technological, environmental, legal aspects of the world and where these things are changing. So really staying up to date on what's going on around the world, what new opportunities are coming, and things like that.
No, I think that's a great answer, man. I think anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, I want to add something to that, but looking into the government official websites too,
Right.
Starting with the U.S. government, they have the U.S. government is like almost everywhere. They have a lot of data about what's going on in these countries, and they put it together, so you can literally just go into it and see.
And it's open to the public?
It's open to the public.
Gotcha.
So you can see. They have agents on the ground paying consultant to collect data and all that. So literally getting there, you will have enough information you want, but also the World Trade Organizations, just the international organizations, you will get a lot of data on there. But also, for example, the Senegal, you can get, if I want to know a lot about what's going on in Senegal, I can get into the Senegalese government and see what's going on. But then you have the government that give you one part of the world, one part of the story. But then you're going to have to check their local news, which will counter the argument of what the government offer. So seeing that both part of the world is very important as far as doing business internationally.
Nah, man, I think that's a great insight, man. Here in Savannah, man, like the port was something new for me when I first moved here back in 2018. And I remember working at a warehouse, and it was like a giant storm out at sea that held a bunch of containers up. And then, of course, you mentioned COVID too. I had a different job that I was working where I saw like the inventory of all the stores that were backed up, all the seasonal products was backed up. And I want to ask, man, how have you seen the world change? And then how have you seen it impact the global business, international global business?
Definitely the world has changed like in a crazy way. Like it's sometimes hard to fathom how much it's changed in the past. I'm not even going to say 100 years. Like let's even just stick to the past 20 years or 50 years. I mean, it's insane. Like less than 50 years ago, we did not even have phones or iPads or internet or things like that. And it's just completely changed, and it's opened up so many doors. And actually, like, if you look at a graph of globalization or technology and how it's shaped, it's like goes like this. Like, it's just an exponential increase. And so I believe that's going to continue going. And of course, that raises a lot of concerns too, like you mentioned with COVID.
Right.
Like, when COVID happened, so many ships and containers and stuff were getting blocked and stopped. And then that's causing the cost of shipping to go up because things are taking longer to arrive. I mean, borders were closed. Right. So it really, really impacts. So even though globalization has its benefits, there's also downfalls to it sometimes too when things are not functioning. So I would say, like, as things are going, there has to be more sort of risk mitigation strategies and like backup plans and things like that. And we definitely focus on that in our business too. Like, when we're consulting a client, we're definitely going to look at how to mitigate risk, what risks may arise, and how can we mitigate these? What are some backup plans so that if things hit the fan, it's not all going to go to waste?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can add something on top of that is like, we're so connected now. It's just insane. Like, for example, what happened between Russia and Ukraine. It's in Europe, right? Mm-hmm. And somehow it affected food prices in a small country like Senegal, which is completely on the west side of Africa, right? Because Senegalese were importing the grains from Ukraine, and now because of what happened, it got blocked. So now you have people not being able to afford, because the main food in Senegal is rice. Right. Yeah. So now the price, so you guys were there, so you see. So now the price became super high. A lot of people had to find other alternatives. So that's the stage we are at right now. So go back to what you were saying, mitigating risks. You have to find a way to have a backup plan.
I want to ask, like, you mentioned like prices going up, and then you having to find new. Was it rice? Did you mention?
Yeah.
So like rice, and you have to pivot to something else. Do you see that a lot? Like, I know you mentioned like Ford and stuff like that. So like, when certain things happen, is it easy to pivot, or is there ways that you can, or advice that you could give on ways to pivot? I know you mentioned staying in touch with like the news and things like that that's going on. But is there any advice that you could give in case things like that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have many different options of suppliers. Like, don't just rely your whole business unit on one working thing. Like, knowing that, hey, I have this one supplier, they're providing me what I need, and I'm good. Like, no, you always got to stay on your kind of P's and Q's and like be aware of what else is out there. Stay up to date on industry trends too, and like understand if something new is coming to the market too. Because even with things like, apart from things just getting blocked and not functioning anymore, sometimes if you don't keep track of your business model and stay up to date and innovative, you're just going to fall in the back seat, and like all these new things are going to come, and then it'll be harder to play catch up. So
very true.
Yeah, that's kind of my perspective.
Yeah, see, that's diversification. I want to just add to that. That goes back to where we come into play at. Like, both of them being from another country, but at the same time, all of us having knowledge of what goes on globally.
Right.
We help people stay abreast on how to be able to go to people to help them get this information, how 100%. To get first movers advantage, how to be abreast on how to do globalization, how to connect with this and that, no matter the barriers that come in the way on how to be able to get a resource or a service access from a Senegal to a Savannah, Georgia. Right. You know what I'm saying? They ship slaves from West Africa all the way to Savannah. So how come businesses or resources can't be shipped? So that's what we come into play at. But just not being afraid to diversify and go against the barriers that come in the way. Because when it comes to globalization, let's be honest, the benefit is there, and the masses that you don't hear about know the benefit is there, and they try to keep that from the people that's understanding. So being able to step out of the box and win at playing the game to be able to get to whatever it is you're trying to get globally, to go against globalization.
Nah, I think that's super huge, man. And then, like you said, with you guys having experience from outside of the country coming to this, it gives you kind of like a leg up and a different perspective, because sometimes I think too, you could be one-sided in your thought process too, which keeps you from growth or keeps you stuck in one place and not being able to overcome. So I think that's huge, man. I think that's a great upside you guys got. I want to ask too, current events surrounding global business and their impacts on Africa. You mentioned it a little bit with what's going on with Ukraine or Russia and things like that. But what else have you guys seen and how has it impacted either Africa or just current events surrounding global business?
Yeah. So, with keeping it like on a high perspective, but the impact of sort of elections or what's going on in a country, and this spans in all of Africa. Like once an election happens, seeing like how foreign direct investment is impacted, because a lot of countries don't invest once an election is happening in Africa, or I mean, this might be on a global scale because there's so much motion happening and so many things subject to change.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like keeping up to date with like what's going on with the political landscape of a country is so important because it really impacts that foreign direct investment into the place. And it draws people away from wanting to do business there because they see a lot of risk associated. So also having strategies for how to mitigate that risk, backup plans, things like that, and staying up to date. I would say that's something that I see as an impact currently when we're talking about Africa.
Nah, I think that's great insight. Great insight. Switching gears, man, I want to say doing business in Africa, the difference in doing business in Africa compared to America. What have you guys experienced with that, man?
We're all laughing because we've experienced this. I mean, there's drastic differences in every part of the world that you do. Like, even if we're talking about Africa, like, it's different on a country to country basis, like how you do business. But overall, there's a specific theme and there's different sort of levels that are sort of looked at when doing business. Like, for example, the openness to communication, that's something that can vary from place to place. Like, maybe in an African culture, there's more relationship building and communication done that is very crucial to do before even talking business or doing business, because it's important to build that trust between each other and to know that, you've got each other's back and you genuinely want to work together. There's time, like perception of time varies greatly, like in different countries. Like, for example, if we're looking at even Germany versus Japan versus the US versus Senegal, it's so different. Like, having a timeline for doing things or having set dates to do things is different. Like, in Germany, they respect timelines way more than if you go to Africa, for example, where things might get pushed a little bit more, or there's not an exact date set in place. It's more like kind of more conceptual rather than like a by this date at this time type of thing. So that's from my perspective, and what we've seen doing business in Africa and globally is that these things definitely play into how you do business and how you communicate with people. And even, one of our business services is project management. And that's something that we see like implementing into doing business in Africa is like, how are we going to manage this project? Like, especially if they're working with foreign companies too coming in to do business, like there has to be a certain level of understanding of the foreign investors coming in and how to align the mission and the perspectives together.
Wherever you're going, just try to understand the culture. So the culture of the United States is very different than the culture of Senegal. Last year when we went to Senegal, we actually helped organize an event where the president of the Senegal, he came. So we had American professors that also came there.
Oh, that's huge, man.
Yeah, so
that's huge.
We had about 20 plus that came, right? So it was scheduled to start at 9 a.m.
Yep.
The president didn't come until 3 hours.
11:30 almost.
Yeah, 3 hours later. So nobody could leave the room, right? You see some of the American professors, they were kind of mad. They wanted to leave. It doesn't work like that in Senegal. Like, you have the president coming. He's kind of like the boss, the king. Everybody have to, no matter what, obey his rules, etc. So you have to understand that part. So if, for example, a client come from US, come to Senegal, and then bring in the culture and try to make everybody follow the culture, it's not going to work. So I would say culture is one of the biggest difference. You can have a meeting at 9 a.m., schedule it. If they don't come at 9 a.m., you have to get prepared for that. They might not come on time. They will prefer seeing you have higher chance of, gaining a contract if you see the person in person and discuss the person, talk to them, try to understand who are their families and things like that, as opposed to let me get straight to business. I just want things and then move out. So
I feel like, and I may be wrong, man. You guys have more experience with that, but I feel like in America it's kind of like that, more or less like super direct, and straight to business, like you said. And I learned that in the military, man. Like, just you always want to do recon on the country that you're going to, and you always want to be up on that, so you don't offend anybody. You know what you're walking into, things of that nature. I want to go back because I know you guys are from different backgrounds. If you guys want to dive into your personal upbringings and like your early beginnings, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Algeria. And for those who don't know, Algeria, it's in North Africa. It's actually the biggest country in Africa. So I was born there. Majority of the country, though, is the Sahara Desert. So it's very hot. But yeah, I was born there in the mountain region and very small village. But so I'm indigenous in Algeria. I'm part of the Amazigh. So growing up, very village, rural life. And I immigrated to the United States in 2005 with my parents. And that was a big change. I was very young, and that was a huge change to come into. I mean, I remember the first place I went to when I came to the United States was Walmart. And I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, honestly, I still have the memory of like walking into Walmart and being like, yo, what? Because, I mean, back in Algeria, if you want like fruit or vegetables, and this is at the time when I was young and back then, and it's still pretty similar now. I mean, it's progressed a bit, but it's still pretty much the same. But like, if you wanted fruits, you go to the person who's selling fruits and vegetables and things like that. If you wanted chicken, you go to the butcher where they have like meat, and it's like you see like the cow like hanging off with its head off, like yeah. And then it's like I had never seen packaged stuff at this point in my life, like packaged meat and so much food and abundance in such a large quantity and so many options. Like, if you're looking for mayo, there's like 60 different brands of mayo. Like, wow. I mean, that was truly like mind blowing for me. And then, all the nice lights and the nice aisles and the floors and like, I don't know, it was just a big culture shock coming at a young age from Algeria to the United States. But I think it was very inspiring as well because it just helped me understand like, one, the blessing of being able to live here and, get an education here and grow up here and be able to give back to my community back home and to help bridge the gaps, because there's so much talent and there's so much amazing things back home too, but it's just really difficult if there is like that disconnection. And, for example, like here, it's so easy to just use a credit card and like go and buy something. I mean, in Algeria, you have to have cash. Like you can't pay with a credit card. So it's crazy. Like, yeah. So like things like that, it really puts into perspective, like how much differences there is in different parts of the world. So yeah, that's my upbringing. It was definitely tough moving from Algeria to the United States. I saw my parents struggle a lot, and that gave me kind of the fuel and motivation I needed to like grow up and be successful. And yeah, that's my background.
Wow, man, that's crazy. No credit cards.
Yeah, literally, no credit cards.
Easy, man.
No debit cards either.
They will think you scam. They will scam them if you call them for debit card, credit card.
Yeah.
No, I'm not taking it.
Literally.
So I'll give a bit of my background. Opposite of them, I always wanted, not having traveled out of the country, I always wanted to see what the other side of the world was like.
Right.
I always wanted to meet people from different cultures and get to understand what they have to go through. What is it like to actually immigrate to the United States of America? Mm-hmm. So I was curious to know what exactly she said, what that experience was like. So that was my background. But, I grew up in an impoverished area side of town in Savannah, Georgia, the east side, single parent household, with the intention to just make it out and just do insurmountable things globally. So that's a bit about my background.
Yeah, for me, my parent immigrated from Guinea, which is the south side of Senegal, to Senegal. And Me, I was born there with my sisters, etc. Yeah, it was nice, etc. I mean, I didn't know much. I only knew that environment, but through technology, obviously, with technology, you get the chance to see what's going on around the world. So I was always attracted by the like America. Seeing the movies,
Right, right.
seeing, listening to music. It left a mark, and it really attracted me. So I first came here in 2015. It was a work and travel program. So I was actually at the Grand Canyon working at the restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, for like 5 months. And
That
then
was your first time in America?
that was my first time in America.
Wow.
So at the Grand Canyon, there was other students around the world, from Ukraine, from somewhere in Europe, from Asia. So it was a lot of international student during that time. So that was the first time I was exposed to different cultures, and I loved it. I loved it because I learned so much within that like 5 month period. And just like Gigi coming to America, everything was different, excited. Everything was so big, big cars.
Big drink cups.
I saw like a girl driving a car. It's like she's walking on stair, getting in the car. I've never seen that before. I was so, even the escalators getting to the
Oh, man, yeah.
that was,
I can
that was strange.
imagine.
Yeah, and then I went back, and I came back again 2016 for the same program for about 5 months.
1 year later.
Yeah, I went back to Senegal to finish my my degree, etc.
Gotcha.
And then I came back for 5 months, and then I went back again home to Senegal, and then I started again another program. I was like, I don't know if I want to. I have seen enough here in Senegal, so I decided to come back as a student. I went to Georgia State, and that's where I actually met Jerome.
Wow.
Then he introduced me to Gigi. Then it became difficult along the way. Obviously, being an international student wasn't easy, but if you know what you want, I knew what I wanted, and despite all the challenges, which I'm still facing today, but it mutates. It mutates into a different challenge, and today here I'm right here.
What language do you speak back home?
Yeah, so my primary language, I guess I would say, is my indigenous language, which is called Amazigh. And then we also speak Arabic because there's a big like Arabic, like a lot of people speak Arabic now too in Algeria. And then there is French as well because we were colonized by France for too long. Too long. So yeah, we speak French as well. So those are the three languages spoken in Algeria. Mostly though, I would say it's Arabic, and then there's like French as the secondary language, and then the indigenous language in the specific regions of Algeria is Amazigh.
Wow. And so that's three.
Yes.
And for you?
So the main language, we have two main language.
Okay.
It's Wolof. Wolof is the language of the majority of the tribe in Senegal. There's that one, and then French. Also, we were colonized. Majority of the West African and North African countries were colonized by France. So those are two of the main languages. But you also have each tribe speaking their own language. So we have different tribes. We have Jola. We have Fula. I'm a Fula, so I speak Fula, Fulani, and Bambara, etc. So every tribe with their own language.
Man, another question, man. How much influence do you think America has in your country? Like, I know obviously here, like, and I've experienced just a small amount, but what is the influence you think America has on you guys? And then I want to ask the opposite question. Do you see any influences coming out of each one of you guys' country?
Yeah, so I would say the influence that I see America has on Algeria, primarily I would say in the youth, like the music scene. I mean, everybody loves American music, like the rap scene out here. I mean, that inspires a lot of people, especially when you're living in a country where sometimes, you don't have a lot of hope. And then, this inspires you and it gets you moving. my little cousin, he loves to break dance, and he learned that, like, you know, watching like Americans break dancing and stuff, that really inspired him. And then of course, like American films and stuff, that's really inspiring too. I would say for Algerians, and of course I don't want to speak for the whole population, but from my perspective, like I believe America influences a lot, like in terms of the entertainment space,
Right.
and then also in terms of the financial freedom that we have here, and that ability to like make money and like that hustle culture. I would say that is like a motivating aspect. And then unfortunately, I don't see a lot of Algerian influence here in America, but you know, Algeria and like Morocco and Tunisia and all of North Africa, they have pretty similar things. So I would say like argan oil.
Yeah.
I mean, Americans love argan
do.
oil,
Yes,
so there's influences there. I would say there's some things that can be picked up there. I mean, the food too, like couscous and different things like that. I mean, that's an influence. I would say like food and like culturally too. Algeria makes like really dope jewelry too. Just the design elements and everything is really dope. So, oh, and I think American people really love like nice rugs.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
We do,
so
man.
we make really nice rugs as well. Things like that. So, yeah.
Got you, man. What about yourself?
Yeah, for me, I would say America, like it depends on the generations. So let's say maybe 10 years before and things like that. Music, huge influence. A lot of people in Senegal, also I don't want to speak for everybody, but a lot of youngsters, etc. They look into the artists, the rappers, like 50 Cent. Hey, I want to be like 50 Cent.
50 Cent is huge internationally, man.
Yeah. Dress up like America, because you look cool, and you know it's even if you're sad and you kind of watch like American movies and things like that, you have a joy. So
Yeah.
I say black people in America, they have the black influencers like the artists, the basketball players. They really propagated American culture outside of the world.
Yeah.
Because that's why a lot of people like really like America. But
Yeah.
nowadays, now it has transitioned into some of the culture America is trying to shift or enforce, quote unquote, into other countries. Like, for
Right.
example, greenery, etc. Let's say, for example, the climate change or things like that, right? So, I mean, if you already, you take care of yourself, the bottom part of the Abraham pyramid, right? You eat, you sleep, right? Then you can think about all the stuff. So if you want to import, your wealthy mindset into other countries and impose them like climate change, I mean, people gotta eat first.
Yeah.
That's
They
very
gotta
true.
sleep first,
Very
right?
true.
So, or you tell them, hey, you gotta change like other sexuality or whatever. They don't care. They just want to eat. So they just want to eat. They just want to sleep. So that is also the new generation, I guess, what they're imposing in other countries. So it's leaving, quote unquote, a negative view of America nowadays. So now it's transitioning. So it's just like maybe a wake up call for people to start to find a way to regain influence.
Man, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, so there is that part as far as how Senegal is influencing America today. I would say, yeah, it's difficult, but clothes, a lot of also artists here, they get inspired by, certain clothes we made in Senegal.
Yeah,
So fashion, yeah.
Soccer as well.
soccer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw Atlanta is preparing for
The World Cup.
the World Cup. Yeah, man.
2026.
So, yeah. So that's crazy, man. Is that the main sport there? Like how
Yes.
football is here, or like baseball? That's the main sport of soccer.
Football is huge over there.
Really?
Huge. They don't even think about basketball or football, any other sport over there besides football.
Because
That's
soccer
crazy.
is actually called football.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
back in Africa. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
soccer is like such an inspirational thing. Honestly, I would say like the African continent as a whole, and I believe the Latin American continent too. It's like such an inspiration for the youth. Like when you see your country's national soccer team like out there, like really inspires them. So soccer is that is huge. And we saw that in Senegal too. That was awesome. Yeah.
You guys saw a game?
No, everywhere we went, somebody was playing football. I call it that. Since I got the experience, I don't even say soccer when I'm over there. And we even played football on the beach.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yo,
That
that's a
was
dope
awesome.
experience, man.
She saw me open up, according to her.
Yeah. And we stayed at, the hotel we stayed at was where the Senegalese national team was at. And for reference, like they won the Africa Cup.
It was
it?
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
amazing,
So
man.
yeah, it's a really cool experience.
That's
And
pretty
it can
cool.
change life too, because
Mhm.
when Senegal won the World Cup, my bad. The African
Inshallah.
Speaking that to existence.
I was looking forward to that. When Senegal won the African Cup, everybody went up. People, for example, if we had beef, we became friends.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it just change. It can change like a nation trajectory, I would say.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Algeria
cool.
won it 1 year too. I think the year after, or was it the year before?
Probably before.
Yeah. But yeah, it really puts you on the map too, because it's like a lot of people don't really know much about these countries, but then when they see like the soccer stars celebrated and like the, how do you say ambiance, like the kind of vibes that is brought by that energy is like
The aura.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's very cool to see everyone connecting for a country and the flags, like raising the flags and everything. I mean, it's awesome. I hope we can all go to a soccer game.
We are.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be dope,
Manifest.
man.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
We are.
That's pretty legit.
We gonna own the soccer team one day.
I don't know about me. I'll be on the sidelines.
We are going to own the soccer team one day. That's one of my goals, to own a soccer team one
I
day.
think that'd be good. I didn't know it was that big of a culture though, man. Like
Yeah.
in other countries, man.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's
big.
huge.
They don't I'm telling you, other sports is kind of go to the
That's
wayside.
crazy, man.
Yeah, because
That's
soccer is
pretty
global. I mean, every country pretty much has a soccer team. Like,
You can just see the World Cup final.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't compare that eyeball to no other sport.
Mm.
No other for the world. This one, like when France were playing against Argentina.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
you
was
cannot compare that to
intense.
nobody. Right?
yeah.
No other sport.
I want to switch gears real quick, man. You guys seem like you got great chemistry together, man. I think that that's got to be said on air. I want to ask the
you.
pros and
Thank you.
yeah, man. The pros and cons of doing business as a team or doing business with other people.
I would say the pros of doing things as a team is like we can all put our ideas together and like really inspire each other and grow from the ideas that we're putting down. And, you know, 6 hands work better than 2. So
That's very true.
it's nice to have like all of us focused and being able to tackle different things at once. Like if someone's focusing on web design, someone else can focus on marketing. And then that helps us too with working with different clients at the same time.
Man.
So that I would say is a huge pro. And then cons, honestly, I don't see a lot of cons. Like, I mean, they're basically like my family now. But I would say cons of like doing business as a team, you know, aligning schedules, that can be hard sometimes. Like being in different places, that can be hard sometimes.
Right.
It's nice to get these moments where we're all together, but we're not blessed to have that all the time. So I would say like sometimes it's just a bit of a challenge. But I would say what I really like about working with these two guys is like we have had challenges and we sit and talk and work together to fix any challenges or to come up with new ideas together and see how we'll improve. Like we all have a growth mindset and we push each other and like we give each other positive and negative feedback all the time. Like
That's
we're
big.
not, we're not like shying away from that from each other. And I think that is very fundamental in working with a team is like, one, knowing that these people, like the loyalty and the trust that you have built, that is fundamental because once you have trust and loyalty with a group of people, you know, I can tell them like feedback and they can give me feedback and I'm not going to take it as like, I'm not going to take it to heart or feel like it's
Right.
negative. Like I know it's because they want me to grow and they have love for me and vice versa.
Right.
So
And when you grow, everybody grows.
Exactly, yeah.
man.
This is not a problem, but different personalities, understanding each other's personalities. The first year, that was something we had to learn because everyone works differently. Everyone's schedules align, and everyone's communication style is differently.
Yeah.
So that's something that can be a con. It's something that we experience as a team. But once we figured out what exactly our cons were, we brought it to attention, and it was either we're going to do this or we're going to do that. But long story short, we provided a solution to the con. And the pros, you have more than one mind that you can operate off of to actually do work. And it's funny how we operate because it's like nobody is the same, but it seems like all of us are the same person just operating in a different body.
Right.
And it's very weird. But the pros is just having another mind that you can use as feedback to bounce ideas off of, to get reassurance and affirmation on out there, to see, hey, what do you think about this? I was thinking this. And when you talk to the person about it, it's like, oh, I was thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah, man.
Like, for example, I say approximately a month ago, she was out of the country. And the night before, I texted in a group chat, I think the same day or the next day. And she said the next day, oh, I was thinking of the same thing. Because I ran into somebody and they said, we need to make our business description niche. And I was like, see, it's like we're always on the same page.
We align a lot, which has grown a lot over like us working together. It's like our alignment has grown and it's really exciting.
Also, you don't have to do everything by yourself. Like, so the last time I came, I'm running my creative art company by myself. It's a lot on one person. So the pros of having multiple people is just having multiple hands on deck. Like she said, 6 hands is better than 1 hand. And just having people that you could personally confide in and express the grits and the grinds that come with starting a business, because it's hard to start a business. I'll be honest with you. It's not easy at all, but the better the risk, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward.
100% true.
But just having somebody you can confide in, whether that's personally or professionally, and just go through the grind of getting to wherever you wanted to get to at the top is a pro as well, compared to doing it individually. Because when you're doing it on your own, the only person you can confide in is yourself. So you're basically talking to yourself. So I'd say for me, those are the pros and cons.
Nah, that's big, man. I think one thing that you mentioned, man, that I thought was dope was that you said everybody is on the same page. Unity comes to mind, man, because I used to think unity was uniformity, but unity is everybody aligning for the same goal. You know, and that could look differently, but as long as you guys are aiming for the same thing, then that's unity right there. And I think that's huge, man, especially when you're in a team, because you don't have to, you mentioned the whole thing of like when criticism is given, it's not taken in a jealousy way or it's not taken in a way like that. I think a lot of times dissension is entered because of that, and teams are broken up because of that. But to be able to give feedback to each other, man, and not take it personally and be able to take it and you guys all benefit from it, I think that's huge, man. And I think that you guys, like I said, man, the chemistry is there, man. I see you guys as all brains are just turning, man, constantly, man. I think that's dope.
I feel like they have said it all. I want to second what you said. It's difficult. It's really, 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 it's really difficult to run a business, whether individually or as a group. But it's much more, it's easier to navigate it. Not easy, but easier to navigate it when you do it as a group, because you have other people feeling the same thing, like feeling that difficulty. So now you can bond around that difficulty. Accountability. So if you go back, if you read like the 5 dysfunction of a team, at the bottom is trust. Luckily, we trust each other. So now we can freely debate, we can freely argue, we can freely push back without taking it personal. And then we hold each other accountable. We commit to things, and then we try to drive results. So there's that part. The cons, it might sound like you're moving slower because now you get your idea challenged. Right. Now, if you were, as opposed if it was only you just go straight.
Right.
So now you have somebody challenging, and now you're gonna have to come with bring arguments to prove your point. Right. So it takes more time.
Right.
And it might look like you're moving slower, but it's a better approach, like moving slower, but in the right way.
Yeah, man. It's the refining process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Definitely, man.
Because it's like, you know, when we talk about things like we love to play like kind of devil's advocate with each other. Like, even if we agree with each other's ideas, like we'll still ask questions and like raise concerns and like figure out like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Like, what do we do if this? Okay, is this a good idea? Like, should we actually look at this? So it leads to more conversation, but it saves us a lot of energy and efforts in the long run because we've analyzed these things kind of in the intro phases.
Right. Go ahead and get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask, what does it mean to do business globally? And what is the impact and feeling that you get from doing that?
I would say get the chance to experience all the culture. You know, you get the chance to see different environment, different people, the way of doing things differently. It's just, for me, it's like being outside of a box, basically. That's, if I have to boil it down, that's what I would say.
For me, it means the world because, like I said, as a kid, it's something I always wanted to do. But concretely, what does it mean to do business globally? It's everything and more. Like when we were in Senegal, I had a reflection moment when we was on the beach. It was just to myself. And I was like, man, I can't believe I'm really in another country doing business with people from another walks of life that speak a totally different language from me. Money aside, just to be able to like come together for the sole purpose of like achieving something to make a location or a problem within the location better.
Yeah.
It's nothing you could ask for. Like, I don't think $1 billion could beat the feeling of that. Because a lot of people forget the key to anything that is successful is you have to do it for other people. Mm-hmm. And that is another reason, or that is the main reason why this has been successful so far and will continue to be successful, is because we have no egos. We are all selfless and we are all in this together to serve and benefit other individuals worldwide. Yeah. So that's what it means to do business globally. It's nothing like it.
Like for me, like doing business internationally, like it fuels me, like it gives me energy and like motivation and passion and everything in between that, because like just being able to interact with people from other cultures, learning other people's stories, like that's definitely my favorite part. Like wherever in the globe I'm doing business, like when I'm interacting with somebody, learning about their life, how they think, like their business, their services, it sparks so much like one respect and like it just inspires me, you know? And it's I think we learn more about ourselves as we learn more about others and the world around us. And like we are just as like the whole of the world is. So the more I can learn about the world and the more that I can help the world and help bridge the world, like that's part of my soul's evolution too. So
definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to ask, man, like I feel like Africa is, especially for me, maybe I'm wrong in that. In America, I feel like Africa is like super untapped. Like there's a lot of resources and things there that's like super untapped, man. And we got this perception of what it is, you know, from media, from TV, I think sometimes, of what Africa is, similar to what you said about America, like how you guys have. Is there any ways to combat that? Like obviously research, traveling there or anything like that. Is there anything that you can add that maybe can help to inspire more people to want to do what you guys are doing?
You got to understand Africa. And what I mean by understand Africa, you got to understand that obviously this is subjective, but I think it was the first place created on this earth. And when you understand that and you understand the history behind, for example, why it's so expensive to fly to Africa, we spoke about that recently. They try to keep you away from that because they see the value in a country such as Africa. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think the major investors go over there and try to get first movers advantage over everything before we find out late and get to it? Because they see the value in it.
Yeah.
Everywhere in Africa you go, I still have more parts of Africa to go, but it's the same problems everywhere. It's a lack of skill. It's a lack of job training. It's a lack of entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's a lack of education. It's a lack of technology. It's a lack of supplies, everything. Yet they have the most potential impact. So long story short, just understanding the history of Africa and why the media portrayed it the way that they portrayed it. Like when I first went to South Africa, I was like, this is nothing what I saw on TV. I didn't know malls exist in South Africa. I didn't know they had beaches in South Africa. I didn't know the food was that amazing. I didn't know the people was that nice and actually like welcoming. they don't portray that in the media
They don't.
because
Yeah.
the untapped potential. So to answer your question first, I would say everybody start with understanding the country of Africa, and then just connect with somebody over there and just find your way over there. Just go over there and get lost. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
But that's
definitely,
my
man.
perspective.
Definitely, man.
Yeah. And I think, with Africa being kind of like untapped, I think it's also because it's exploited, unfortunately. Like, not to get too controversial, but honestly, like, Africa is exploited a lot, and that has a big play on, in my perception, it's also like why when you look at the media, how they show Africa to be, like, to push people maybe away or to not show, because there's actually so much talent, so much skills, so much everything in Africa. Like, the people that you meet and the things that they're doing, it's like incredible. And like the advancements that are there, it's incredible. But it's almost like a lot of the world benefits off of Africa because Africa has so many resources to offer, more than anywhere. And there's that exploitation of the resources. Like, all of our technology and everything, it's made from the resources that are taken from Africa. And so it's like, it's almost like they're trying to gatekeep in a way, or to keep it suppressed so that they can benefit. But I think that's changing now, and globalization hopefully will help with that, because everything is getting more interconnected, and there's no longer these like walled boundaries being put. Like, yeah, like, I'm gonna exploit this country and no one else can really come in and do anything about it because I'm benefiting off of it. I'm gonna pay really low prices for resources and for employees, and I'm benefiting, and I'm gonna come into this country and I own all the telecoms and I own all the hotels. And it's like, no, like, that needs to go back to the people, because the people should be able to own these things, and the people should be able to start their own telecommunication companies and everything like that. So I mean, that's what we want to help do. So yeah.
To put how big is Africa, right? Even like 3 United States.
Yeah.
Like, you can fit 3 United States in Africa. So it's
huge.
really,
That
really
is
big,
insane.
right? It's really big. So it's very important to understand what part of Africa we're talking about. There is north part, right? You can see, for example, Gigi and I, we have different skin colors. Because she's from the north and I'm from the west. You have the south, middle, and the east side, right? So understanding what part you want to enter is very important. And Africa has a lot of natural resources. So these are like raw resources. So for example, majority of what we use here are finished products, right? So you have to be able to take these raw materials and refine it all the way until the finished products.
Right.
So usually if you trade off the finished products, you can make your margin, it's good. But if you want to make bigger, you gotta go lower in the spectrum from the raw, right? From there you can make profit. If you also go there, you think like in 1 year or like in 3 months, 6 months, you want to make profit right away, you're wasting your time, because I mean, you cannot go in a different country and then just expect to, flip everything in just as quickly as possible. So it takes time, just like everything. It takes time. You need to understand what you're doing. You need to build those relationships, and then eventually you will make a lot, like really a lot. So the strategy the European, for example, who divided Africa did, who actually have utilizing, almost taking advantage of all of the resources, they had to divide. So divide, conquer. That's still what they're doing today.
Right.
They take the same, for example, a country like Senegal and Gambia, almost the same culture. They divide, they draw a border, divide it. So people kind of like don't like each other. Everybody's focusing on the small things. They come, they take, and they go.
Distraction.
Yeah.
So you gotta understand your enemy strategy and work with the people, make them see that and say, all right, I'm here to help you, but I also want to help myself. That's why I'm here. I'm not here just to be a savior or whatever. I'm here to help and make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's huge opportunity. He mentioned that like we have a huge gap, and there's the resources here. For example, some of the skills, the technology, which can be exported there, my bad. And if you take these companies, you kind of try to show them how to utilize this technology to increase their productivity. It takes time. You show them how to do it. You teach them how to do it. and eventually you will, they win, you win.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. Especially what you said about the technology piece, man, and like being that bridge. I want to ask on that because you mentioned that you do. I don't want to misquote you, but you said you developed an app or you was instrumental in developing an app. How do you look at technology, right? Because with all this AI, some people get offended by it, or some people stray away from it. How do you strategically, or like I would just say like smartly integrate technology? What are some ways that you can integrate it into your business, like to help, you know what I mean? Especially like what you guys are doing globally and things like that. What are some strategies, or like how are some ways that you guys, or you're thinking about doing that?
Yeah, so with technology, it's always going to progress. You cannot just, for example, put an embargo, how the United States put embargo on Russia or
Right.
things like that, right? You cannot put embargo on technology because I can sit, for example, where I am and develop whatever I want, right?
Mhm.
The United States cannot come and tell me this, and that, or another country can tell me this, and that. So it's always going to continue to progress. So it's either you adapt with it, right? Or you just let it take your job, or, you know, do things. And eventually we're going to get there. So now it's, okay, how these companies are going to mutate and be able to leverage this technology. For example, AI. Maybe if you were a writer, right, instead of saying, oh, I don't want any like articles that come from ChatGPT, how can you generate the content, refine it, for example, clean it, make it more human readable, etc., utilize it, do your stuff, right? So it's always how can you work with it, make it better, instead of, no, I don't want it, I'm cutting it, and things like that. So,
Right. And I think I'm guilty of that, man. Like you know, now my mindset is starting to change more and more, but I'm guilty of that. It's like, man, it's not real. You know what I mean? A robot created that. It's not real. You know, instead of, like you said, how can I work with it? You know what I mean? I think that's huge. You say you came from like a marketing background?
Yeah, so I came from like a product management and like international sales, but marketing has been involved in that too.
How do you what are some advice, or like how some strategies that you would say that you would use that skill set moving forward, and especially in the business that you guys are in?
Yeah, so I think just like Abdul said, like I think it's so important to stay up to date on technologies and like what is new. Like for example, like the Apple Vision Pro just came out,
I
and
saw
like
that. I saw the commercial for that. That's crazy.
it's crazy. And like a lot of
Like,
people
yo.
a lot of people are like, no, that's crazy.
Right.
Like I don't
was
want
the same way.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
me
yo.
too. I saw it and I was like, wow, like we're really here. But like some people are like have very closed mindset of like, nah, like that's keep that away from me. I don't want anything to do with it. But like I tested it out just to see what it's like, and like
How was it?
It was so cool. It was really dope. Like spatial computing, for example, that's what Apple Vision Pro has that is like very different from any other VR headset.
Say that one more time.
Spatial computing.
And what is that?
I don't know how to explain it well. Honestly, I'm not an expert in it, but from my perception and how I saw it, it's in a way integrating your reality and like a digital, like virtual reality together and creating almost like a life form version of technology. So it's like the way that you see technology manifest is not like in a one-dimensional or like a two-dimensional or even a three-dimensional. Like it's like literally like live form. So it's like on an Apple Vision Pro, you can watch a video and like see it like come to life for real, for real.
Like you're in it.
Yeah, it's like you're in it, and it's like it's mind blowing, and then it's like being able to stay up to date with those technologies and see kind of what's coming gives you ideas for what you can do. Like, so I do photography on the side, and like when I was using this Apple Vision Pro, it gave me ideas for like how I can edit my photos. Because if I can bring my photo to real life and I'm seeing it and the picture is coming to life, I can edit it way more nicely and like feel it more and like be able to change it more. I feel like it's coming to life. So, I mean, for the creative space, I love to use new technologies. There's a platform called Dolly. It's part of ChatGPT too. And like you can insert like photography that you do and even generate paintings from it.
Right.
So obviously there's a lot of problems that some people are having in terms of copywriting. But for example, for me, I have a picture that I've captured. Like I own the copyrights to this photo. Like this is my capture. I can put it in there and add something like take this photo and like maybe digitize like a moon on there and like make it look more spacey. And it'll take my photograph and add this layer that I've programmed into it without me having to take freaking hours to like edit that and create that.
That's crazy.
So there's just so many possibilities there, and I think it's really cool.
That's wild, man. I want to ask one more question, man, about apps. So like, how do you see that playing a part in the business? Should a business have an app? Obviously, depending on what business you have, but like, how do you see that playing a part now and in going into the future?
An apps for our business.
Or businesses in general.
Yeah,
they should
business
have
in
apps.
general. Yeah.
Okay, so businesses in general, I'll say it depends. It really depends. So, for example, if there is a real use cases for an app, I would recommend that. But majority of the businesses, they don't need apps, right? Because usually, like, people have apps on their phone, but like they download it, but they barely use it, right?
Right.
So, like, if I have to ask how many apps are on the phone, like, you don't utilize, it's a lot of them. So sometimes you might not even need an app. You just need an extension or like a plugin inside of an already existing app like Facebook or things like that. So really, if you understand your audience and where they are and where can you find them and where can you increase their interaction and where can you increase their involvement into your product or your services, you can go there. It could be Instagram. If you are like having an app give you more control, because even if you have an audience on Instagram, right, they can shut you down, right? So that's the risk of it. And now what are you gonna do with that, right? So it will probably you lost now all your audience, or unless you had your audience somewhere else. So I'll say it depends like of who you're who you're building it for, and where I see it going. So we have the visual, like the Vision Pro you just talked about. So now you're gonna have a different way of building apps.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows what those new apps gonna be, right? It could be now in Vision Pro you create an app where, for example, you have a farm in you said you've been to Korea, right?
Right.
For example, you have a farm or something in Korea, you want to be able to feel it, you want to be able to see how it goes. Like you have an app that help you, do it. Like you there, you're pretending you're touching your trees, etc. Right. So it depends on, as new products, actual like real physical hardware are coming. In this case, the Vision Pro. Do you want to build an app there? What will be the use cases? How many people are going to use it? Maybe your clients, they are high ticket clients, right? Because it costs what, $3,000?
Yeah, $3,500 without tax.
to create an app?
No, for the Apple Vision Pro.
Ah, man,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, so if you understand your audience, they're high ticket people, and then you want to build an app there because they don't want who actually gonna use it. So why not? So I'll say it has pros and cons.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What do you guys like? How did you guys gain that knowledge of, like, you speak very in depthly about knowing your customer base? Like, where'd you gain that knowledge from? Like, how do you develop that? Because for somebody starting a business, you learn those things as you go along, especially like with streaming, I would say, or like, especially when you're going on the internet, you have to know your customer base so you know what is your product serve, or how you're going to serve your customer, or things like that. So like, how do you gain that knowledge?
That's actually something that, our business helps with. So one of our services that we offer is actually that market research to understand your customer base, because there's so much that goes into it. I mean, there's first party data, there's secondary data, like you can interview people, you can see like literally information from your website visitors, you can like learn more about that. You can do market research on an audience that you're trying to target, understand more about their habits, what they like, what they don't like, what they interact with. I mean, there's so much, but I would say market research is so critical, and understanding your competitors, understanding their audiences. I mean, there's so many things that come into play there.
We're getting ready to wrap up. All you guys from different backgrounds, and I think it's great that you guys bring all the opportunities, all the skill sets that you have to create something of substance. Like you said, it benefits you guys, but it benefits the next generation. And I think it's amazing that you guys are coming out and sharing what you guys learn, man, sharing your experiences, things like that, because that's what I feel like you should use technology for. You should use technology to better your surroundings and better other people, better yourselves. That's why I started a podcast, man, to be honest, man. It's because I want to inspire people like I was inspired. if I can do it, I know you can do it. Just like you guys, man. Like, I'm pretty sure you feel the same way. People back home, maybe it's family, maybe it's friends, just your whole country. You guys mentioned about how sports and like how football inspires so much of your nation. And I feel like, we should take that same vigor. We should take those same principles, man, and apply it towards whatever our aspirations are. And I just want to highlight that, man. And thank you guys for coming, man. Thank you guys for what you guys do. And then share your social medias, man. The platforms is here. Share your business, websites, anything that you guys have to offer, anything that you guys want to share. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having us and for having this podcast, where you're bringing people on and sharing ideas. And, your audience really benefits from this. And I hope it continues, like, growing and inspiring so many people, because we're definitely inspired too. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we are the Globally Connected Group. You can find us on LinkedIn. Yeah, our website gcgworldwide.com. And yeah, that's us.
Thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it. And thank you also, Jerome, for putting us together. We really appreciate it. So yeah, gcgworldwide.com. For me, LinkedIn, you can follow Abdul Diallo.
We also have a YouTube page. The YouTube page is where our content will be posted related to our up-and-coming podcast and just topics related to international business.
I think that'll be amazing.
Yes.
That would definitely, man, be beneficial. And I thank you guys, man, for just providing that service, because it's so needed, man. And people need to hear about it. People need to get inspired. And people need to tap in, man. So I thank you guys. If you guys don't have anything else to add, this has been the Real Talk Podcast. Tune in every Thursday, man. Tell a friend, tell a family member. Please tap in with these guys, share it. And this is Real Talk Podcast, man. We post every Thursday. Look forward to seeing you guys. Peace. We appreciate you giving us a listen. If you like this episode and would like to engage with us or support, reach out through our social media platforms, linked in the description, and tune in every Thursday to check out new episodes. See you next week.